Yeah, that's right. I see the chat. I see y'all rocking. I see y'all coming. Hit that like button as you enter the building. You know what I'm saying? Hit that like button. Show your love. Show your support. You know what I'm saying? This that dope soul. This that new thing. Nobody don't know about it.
Hello, Nick fan. Where's Anthony at?
I'm here. I had to get right. I had to get right for the quiz. You know, I had to get right.
Well, listen. Yeah, you did. I'm liking it.
Absolutely here.
Yeah.
You know,
hello, family. Welcome to. We're still working with the title, but for today, welcome to Dope to the Soul Court Conversations with me and AD. You know, we've been talking more recently. We've talked over the years, but definitely been talking more recently, really getting into some things, really good perspectives, in my opinion. And so we said, hey, let's just go live with it. You know, let's just go live with our conversations and share it with others. You know, some of it may be Knicks related, some of it might not be. We'll definitely cover the Knicks, the NBA, WNBA, you know, basketball stuff. Obviously, if something happens culturally that we think is relevant, we may talk about that as well. It may be narrative. It may be about narratives that are recent, but sometimes we might want to go back and talk about something that's not in the news.
Knicks 84 against Boston in Boston Garden. Yeah, we wanna shake the chain.
Right. Right. So yeah, the vibe is just laid back, conversational. You know, AD, introduce yourself. How you been? And we'll get right into it.
I mean, I've been in these spaces before and so forth. It's been so long. It feels like it's been a minute. You know, I'm Anthony D. You know, people still the real AD. Most people it's just AD. I want to say, excuse my lighting. I'm in an undisclosed situation at the moment. So no, I'm just working on some lighting situations. So it'll be better the next time we come around. But you know, I think you and I were talking when we were chopping up about the show of about a month and a half ago, maybe that, when we was in the throes of, you know, Nick Whirl and who was gonna be 13, 14, and 15, because that for the Knick fans, that carried the into past Labor Day, you know, 13, 14, 15. Dreams of this one and that one and that one, and we'll get there. But first, let me say salute, you know, to the fans. You know, I love you all, East, Blue, you know what I'm saying, as y'all chime in and so forth. But I remember I was telling you that you paid me such a major compliment, like early in the podcast game and so forth, when it was, I think, one of your first shows. And I don't think we even really had a connection like that. And you were like, you're one of my favorite people, and I want you on the show. And I think I even came on like a few minutes late because I was running late. But you and I were talking about it, I was telling you again, you know, I never had the chance to tell you that. And even when we moved on and we did the Randall joint,
right.
I still go back and listen to that joint. That was a good joint that we had did on the
podcast.
Was it Spotify? Was it on Spotify? Yeah. Right. So y'all can still go back and check that out. Some of the things that I said about Randall then was I feared then, and how things has transpired since then. You know, but it was, you know, an honor, you know, to be able to rock with you and so forth. And then I don't know, did I reach out to you? Did you reach out to me? I don't even remember how we decided we were going to do something.
Yeah.
You know, and we just started talking about it. And like anything else, I don't know if it's me, that what I attract or what I'm attracted to. I think our first conversation might have been like 2.5
Yeah, yeah.
I did like 3 shows.
Right. True.
So, so it kind of went from, from there, and, people know some folks, tuning into when I was with, just want to listening to Sim
Mm-hmm.
and But Knicks early before I knew that they were people like me who felt like me,
Right. Facts.
who were really like in the gut, ruined Friday nights, years. You on a date, you purposely position yourself to try and you know what that is, to try and
Watch the game. Yeah,
to watch the game, all of those Friday night Knicks on, and I hated that song. I hate it then. I hate it now.
Really?
Oh my god! Because it started in an era that was just disgusting,
Mm.
and it ruined many weekends. We
Wow.
were happy with a Steve Francis torpedo into the bing, and when he jumped up on the table in his hometown in D.C. with 7, my brother man from the 5th floor, 7 with 7 games to play, the Knicks go 1-6.
Wow.
That
Wow.
was the highlight. But anyway,
Yeah,
that was then.
yeah. Because we
This
could.
is now. I ain't gonna do it to y'all. I ain't gonna do it. I promise. I ain't gonna do it.
All right. So, what's the? Tell the fans from your perspective how how you see the show.
Well, I see the show for the people. You know what I mean? For whoever chimes in, and whoever we are in our personal lives, that's just who we are. But as a Knick fan, as a Knick family, and that's some of the things that I think that we forget. We're an international fan base. When we roar, the seas move. Ain't no little fan base out there on nowhere. You'd get arrested. You'd get treated like a migrant. You can't do that no place else. So imagine when we finally get it. When we finally get it and we show who we are as a fan base, which is class personified. We're not gonna rip up our city, burn and loot for a championship that we've been dreaming about.
I don't
We're
know.
gonna show y'all
Oh no.
how you step in style. Walt Frazier style. And they won it in 69, 70, and 72 and 73, whatever. They didn't rip up the city. New York didn't implode.
Yeah, but we got a ways to go, and well,
But
this could be the year.
I gotta put the mindset in. It's
Okay.
championship or nothing. Let's
Okay.
just start. Let's just get it out the way. Now we can journey.
All right. So what we're gonna do is each of us are gonna have something that we want to talk about for the show. AD, you can go first. What do you wanna talk about tonight?
We got so many different things, but some of the things that you and I were talking about off air, and I can tell you, I can hear your hesitancy. That's not like I'm about to take out the red pen or your paper. I'm gonna stand over you, Steph. I can hear your hesitancy as I broach the topic of the Knick management possibly missed an opportunity to get not one superstar in the offseason, but 2. KD being the first, Freak being the second. Did we not might we have not done the right thing to be, as I was watching Jaws the other day. You remember Jaws, the original Jaws?
Absolutely.
When them three fools decided to go out on a boat to go catch something that's 50 feet long. The bravery, the mission, the execution you might not like, but the ending result is we did what we had to do to get it done. When I think about those two players, and it's hard for us to decipher truth, fiction from nonfiction.
Mm-hmm.
Nonfiction for me is Kevin Durant. You told us to our face we weren't cool. Right? To our face we weren't cool. Yet still, for the possibility to crack a 50-plus year championship is worth considering. I did give it a thought, but I can't be a hypocrite. Once I found out that it wasn't going to work, I was like, yeah. But those kinds of talents don't come around every day. And if LeBron can go back to Cleveland, how desperate are you necessarily to win the championship? Because that player at the age of 38 is better than both your wings. Or 37, however old he is.
Right. But not if you got to give up both of them.
No.
So I will say this. And again, I just want to remind, those that's listening, this is court conversations, and these conversations are liable to go everywhere, anywhere. And some of you may be saying, listen, the Knicks play tomorrow. What they talking about? They talking about Giannis and
the views of dope to the soul.
right. They talking about Giannis and KD. We got our team. We ready to go. I definitely get it, and I do want to talk about what's going on right now in Knicks land, particularly with the Mitchell Robinson's injury. That's what I want to talk about. But I want to say this. There's no doubt about KD and Giannis status as all-star, all NBA players historically, and even now. KD is still playing at a high level. I know a lot of Knicks fans, take things personally. He didn't want to be here before. I don't want him now. LeBron didn't want to be here before. I don't want him now. Yeah. When it's about winning the chip, it's about putting together the best roster possible. But I don't know if I can get on the Knicks for passing on KD. I don't know if I can. I don't know if I can get on them. We don't know what it would have taken, what it would have took, but also the Knicks are into their cap. They're into their cap and the flexibility going forward.
What does that? What is that? I'm dying. You know who I'm dying to talk to? Who I'd ever want to talk to ever in life? Just 2 minutes, whatever. One of these cap dudes, because you can go around the bend, back around the bend, but here's the ending result. You don't want to pay to win.
You don't want to play an Asian player.
It's not like you can't go there. You don't, as ownership, you don't want to go there. You want to tell Brunson to take $100 million pay cut now, and we'll see you later.
Well, I don't know if they told Brunson that.
However, he had to take a deal to get the players in that they got.
Right.
Because from the moment the media started pushing this narrative and the apron and the skirt and the sliders, and you got to go here and you got to go there and you got to go slide.
Is it a narrative or is it true? It's not pushing a narrative. It's facts. The cap is facts.
It's facts, right? But the difficulty and where the burden lies, you see, this is labor management. The burden is not on the owners. They're like, nah, we're trying to build a championship. You and I know not every team in any sport league, not every team is trying to win it all.
I get that. But just going back to KD and going back to the Knicks, I'm not getting on the Knicks for deciding that I'm not maxing out because he was expecting a contract extension. I'm not giving a contract extension to a 37-year-old player. I'm not doing. I can't blame the Knicks for that because you have to look at what the Knicks have. And listen, in a vacuum, KD is better than Bridges. KD is better than OG offensively. Obviously he doesn't have the defensive, acumen of OG. I can't blame a front office by looking at the total roster and saying, I'm not maxing out, giving an extension to a 37-year-old. And I think our chances might be just as good, maybe a little better with KD, depending on who they have to give up to get him. I think our chances are just as good, and we have cap flexibility. I don't know if I can blame them. I don't know if I can blame them for that. And I hear what you're saying. You're You're trying to win the champ in a 2-year window. Get the best players in. I mean, I hear you, but I'm not getting on. I can't.
You have to. For me, and maybe I don't want to say I've been around longer, because I don't know your Knicks story. But like I said, as part of a Knick family and Knick culture, we've seen them not pull the trigger. It's not the first time I've heard somebody say, well, I can't. I know Ewing was 35 and Shaq was 24 and Nelson wanted to get rid of him. I know, but we just can't. Why would we do that? We could go sign Allen Houston instead of trying to get Shaq. We could go try and get Larry Johnson instead of trying to get Shaq. We can do everything else that says those moves are great. Love those players and memorable. But when you're trying to win it, Steph, and you right there, and I'm not saying that should have been like, did they necessarily really shake the tree? Did it really shake the tree on Giannis? Giannis done did everything but literally come out and say, look, I told them to trade me to the Knicks. I gave them all opportunity to trade me to the Knicks, and they didn't do it. So let's start the season.
Do you think is your thinking just get the best player in, or is your thinking how many pieces do we have to move to get this player? What is our team going to look like after we make this move? Will we be better? Even though we may have the best player, will we have a better team? Will our chances be better? And what would our flexibility be to move on, to move a piece, whether it's Giannis or somebody else? Once you sign,
You asked 4 questions.
Okay.
You asked 4 questions, right?
Okay.
You was a science teacher in your former life.
No, I wasn't.
We didn't dissect the pig here. But here's the thing.
That's what you got to think about when you make one move. It's going to impact a lot of things.
But Here's the thing, and I'm gonna play Nick Psych for a second here. You know why some of those questions come up, especially the early questions? Because as much as we love the players that management was able to get us to this point, in our hearts we think, did we really have to give up 5 first picks for OG and 2 players? I mean, for Bridges?
Bridges, yeah.
Did he really have to give up that much OG? Did he really have to give up Ragu in that trade? We feel in a way in our hearts, if we want to be truthful about it, it's like, as great as the movements were, we didn't really want to give up all of what we gave, right? But in order to get somewhere, as fans, but in order to get somewhere, Steph, we formed in order to get somewhere, you had to give up something. And far too many times we refuse to cut the apron straight with people we like.
Do you think that was the case with Giannis, though? You talk about from a
It would have been the case because guess what? In order to get a Giannis, somebody you like is going. Pick him. Pick him.
So you're talking about the
outside
fan
of
base.
Brunson. Okay. Outside of Brunson, pick him. Somebody you like would have to go.
Okay, so you're talking about the fan base. To me, I don't think, and I obviously because I do the shows, the fans are in the chat. I listen to other content creators. I hear what the fans are saying about certain topics. I don't think the Giannis thing was about, I don't want to part with my favorite player. I don't want to part with Towns. I just love him so much. I don't want to part with OG. I just love him so much. I think the fan base was really, really critical about what it does to this team, how it impacts our championship aspirations, what the fit is going to be, who you sending out, who you getting back.
We put way too much importance on certain guys. Here's the skinny, Steph. Mm-hmm. Much of the key moments in the Boston series, the first half, right, in those first 2 games, the Detroit series, right, when Detroit could have gone the other way, right? They were droughts. They were droughts because you didn't have someone outside of Brunson and Cat that could deliver, that the defense had to focus on, that could make those other guys, that could make Brunson's life easier. And I'm not going to get into all the minutiae and whatever, but it can make Brunson's life easier and make Cat's life easier. You have to throw 3 guys at Freak. To this day, he's on the break, a one man. You gotta build the Great Wall in front of him to stop him from getting to the hoop.
But Anthony, these things don't happen in a vacuum, though. So I'm asking you, if you would say you had to give up a OG or whatever, so you feel like, or a Cat, because some of it was Cat in terms of salaries. You like a Giannis
and Brunson,
Bridges Brunson core, or a Giannis OG Brunson?
I love. Let me be emphatic. I love Giannis and JB. If that's the beginnings of my core for me to go further, and whoever is left, and I'm gonna figure it out. Yeah, I love that. I loved it the same way I loved when it was Giannis and Dame, but Dame just wasn't happy. You see, Giannis is still hungry. Giannis is hungry in the way, kind of like when Moses went to Philly. Giannis is with Doc, right, when Doc couldn't win it, and it was a perfect marriage, right? But So when you have those two magnetic forces,
It's not enough. It's
no,
not
no,
enough.
don't get me wrong. I just didn't name the other pieces because we weren't going there. I was
But
just talking about
but
the
that's
basis of my.
important.
I'm talking about the basis
That's
of my
important.
the basis of my team. You have Steph. In order to get a superstar like that, Steph, you're not getting him for a ham sandwich. You're not
I
getting him
un-
for Grimes.
I understand that, but what I'm saying is part of the equation has to be who's left. Who's left on the roster and how much money do we have to go out and rebuild this team? Because you're going to build a different team around Giannis and Brunson than maybe you build around Cat and Brunson. Slightly different team. You're going to definitely need
Okay, let
a
me
lot
ask you a
of
question.
shooting around
Let me ask you,
around. But
not to
this is
cut you.
my main point.
Go
My
ahead.
main point is you gotta ask yourself, what do we have left to put around those two? And what assets do we have left to go out and get somebody to put around those two? It just can't be, at least in this, I used to think like this, just get the star in the building. But now with these salary cap, you gotta think, you gotta think differently, particularly given how close the Knicks are right now.
Well, okay. From your argument, you're happy to see where this goes. I
What do
am
you
too.
mean? Happy
You're
to see
happy
where
to,
this
as
particular
far as
team goes.
with this particular team, which is a lot of the fan base. You're happy right now because you know what? Nothing was done. So let's see what happens. And I'm fine with that too. Right? I'm fine with
Nothing
that.
was done
Let's
other
see
than
what
change it
happens.
person roster. I
I
mean, some
mean,
things were done right.
since 13, 14, and 15 got settled. Since we were, because all we were talking about in August 13, 14, 15. So nothing happened past 13, 14, 15. Right? There was no
You mean
major moves.
after we signed like Clarkson and Yabusele
Right.
and
There
made
was
the
no
coaching change?
major moves. Right. After we heard about the Greek and nothing happened. Right. So fans are now like, okay, I'm good. I'm good with this team. But all of a sudden now, and we talked about this a month and a half ago, and maybe I jinxed it. I said Mitch would get hurt in preseason. Mitch gets hurt in preseason. No one says anything. They just gloss over a man who has a significant injury history.
Nobody says anything, meaning the Nick organization.
The Knicks organization.
They
Brown
not
talked
gonna
about
say
it.
anything.
No,
Come on,
Brown
that's not
talks.
new.
Hold on, but Brown talks about it now, and he's bumbling over it. Now it's load management. Is that where we are?
Listen,
We're gonna load manage somebody who's supposed to be so important to win the championship? To help us win the championship? Is that where we are?
yeah. I mean, you've covered like three things in your last.
You started me because you were the one who gave me 4 questions. Last segment, you gave me 4 questions.
One, I will say Mike Brown is doing his best. Mike Brown got his first taste of what it's like to be a coach in New York, at least as far as the media is concerned,
You
and
better
how
look at Aaron Glenn right about now.
right, and how the Knicks how the Knicks deal with the media, and how the coach is basically put in a position to be the media representative, not just coach the team, build relationships with your players, put the schemes in, work the lineups, make roster decisions, but also now be the media presence for the Knicks outside of coaching stuff. So he's there talking about load management. Today it came out that he's going to miss his first game, Josh Hart as well, and that there's something with the ankle.
But are you worried about Hart? No.
No, we're not. But
I'm not worried about Hart coming back.
I'm not worried about Hart either. I just wanted to just throw a little bone to Mike Brown that he was put in a tough situation in front of the media, and that's part of him. He's getting his taste of what it's going to be like.
Okay, but we now have to be fair. Okay, so let's slide back a little bit. Tom Thibodeau came into last season without Mitch at all, with no timetable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so
Okay, but I
why are they continuing this pace with Mitch Robinson? What has he done? What has he done for Knick fans to feel that we need to bubble wrap him to the playoffs? Because what? He was that dominant against Indiana. You want a fun fact?
yeah.
Mitch Robinson had 5 offensive rebounds in the last game against Indiana. You want another fun fact? That all came in the first quarter. And nothing else. He came and he went, as Richard
Right.
Pryor once said.
Right. But he was coming off of he was coming off of listen.
He's always coming off of something. He's always coming off of something.
If you follow me, you already know
Of course, I
my
follow the
take
queen.
on Mitchell Robinson. But we got to be fair. He played 17 games. He was coming
East
off
Blue, that was 3 years ago.
Nobody expects Mitchell Robinson to be able to play. He averages 20. I think the most he's played is 26 minutes a game. So he's going to be winded. He's not going to be able to, after playing 17 games, just come in and give you a straight 30-minute game or 28-minute game. I mean, his performances are going to be up and down. There's going to be spurts of great activity and then followed by needing a rest. But this is what I will say to your point about man, there's so much I want to address here. When you say what has he done, listen, and I get it. We talked about this. I said he's never averaged a double-double. You said he's never averaged even 9 points, 9 rebounds. A lot, and I know you're about to roll your eyes. A lot of what Mitchell Robinson brings doesn't always show up in the counting stats. A lot of it shows up in the advanced stats. A lot of it shows up in what he allows other players to do, by his presence. He
Is
is
this the AI numbers? Do I need to go put my glasses on? Do I need to go get me some glasses?
I mean, listen, it's a fact. He's an elite offensive rebounder. He is an elite rim protector. He is either good to great pick and roll defense. So that's well established. I don't know how many Knicks fans can argue with that. I think if you're just looking at counting stats, I think you're going to miss the impact of Mitchell Robinson. You already know
Mitch has an impact. When Mitch, in moments, segments, if you're the opposing coach, Jeff, and Mitch is on the floor between 6 minutes to 2.5 minutes of the game, right? Fourth quarter. And the game is, you're protecting either upper 6 or 7, either way.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing? You know what you're doing when you see him in the game at that point in time. He can't hit a free throw. You're playing 4-on-5 in critical moments of the game. You're playing 4-on-5. He has the ugliest free throw shot I have ever seen. Okay. This is 8 seasons.
Okay. But what I will say,
so his importance is like, it's almost like, I'm sorry, not to cut you. It's almost like, not almost, because I saw Tom Thibodeau struggle with this. You got him on there for defense. You got to sub him out quick. You got to try and beat them playing hack a Shaq. You got to try them beating hack a Shaq.
Yeah,
right?
I mean
He's not, to me, he's not that important where when I really need you, I can't depend on you in certain moments because you're going to be a liability.
yes. Well, that was my argument a few years ago. I feel like that's mitigated with this particular team because 2-3 years ago, he was the only probably legitimate center on the roster. It's a big drop off defensively when you took him out. I think the weaknesses of Mitchell Robinson is mitigated. We're not going to even, if he's healthy, we're not even get into, and this is my main point about the injury and whether or not you can rely on him. I'll get into that later. But in terms of his limitations, I think on this particular roster, there's the opportunity, if he's healthy, to take advantage of what he brings defensively. And we have so many options if teams do go to a hacker Mitch. He can come out. Karl Anthony Towns can play 5. Right? If it gets to the point where his second chance points and offensive rebounds is not hurting the team and we're playing 4-on-5 offensively, like you just said, we can take him out. We have options now. So on this particular roster, I like Mitch. Now, I like him at a certain price. I'll get into that other stuff. But I feel like the way this roster is built, it mitigates Mitchell Robinson's weaknesses, right? 2-3 years ago, I was right with you. I don't want it's 4-on-5, this, but I think we can make changes. This is my thing. This is where I'm at with the Mitchell Robinson injury. The Knicks already knew that Mitchell Robinson was injury prone. You already knew that. This is an opportunity, a golden opportunity to win a championship. And a healthy Mitchell Robinson raises the ceiling of the Knicks, in my opinion. You may not agree with that, but I feel like if Mitchell Robinson is healthy, he helps this team. He gives us rotational versatility in terms of how we play with certain lineups. But in a season in which you're trying to win a championship, you cannot hitch your wagon, so to speak, to Mitchell Robinson. That's where I'm at. And I get what Mitch brings on this particular team, the way it's constructed, when he's healthy. I get it. But he hasn't been healthy a lot.
No, don't say a lot. Don't say a lot. The man hasn't been healthy at all.
That's what kills me. One more thing. This is what kills me about my Knicks family. Mm-hmm. What kills me about my Knicks family is that when we talk about Mitchell Robinson and what they're talking about in terms of what he brings is right. They're not wrong. Shout out to Jeff. Shout out to Delusional. Shout out to Ebony, Nick of Time, all of the presidents of the Mitchell Robinson Club.
You can only have one president. How many presidents they got over there? What they got? What they E.F. Hutton? They got 18 vice presidents.
Like 3 clubs. When they talk about what Mitchell Robinson brings, they are absolutely correct. But everybody minimizes the injury history. They talk about Mitchell Robinson at his best and what he brings to the team. Nobody talks about his availability or lack thereof. And that when you're trying to win a championship, you're trying to mitigate risk or you're trying to give yourself the best chance. And if you're trying to give yourself the best chance, you can't be like, we went in a champ. We're gonna start a two big lineup, which I don't really have a problem. I don't really have a problem with. We could talk about that. So, but you can't be doing that with a player that's going to be in and out of the lineup. In my opinion, you can't be counting on somebody who probably won't play a lot of games. You gotta construct the roster in such a way that whatever Mitchell Robinson gives you is gravy. That's how you have to construct the roster. And the Knicks didn't do that. When we talked the other day, I said, I think the Knicks should have I think we needed another big. Now you like the James, is it Jemison? You like Jemison? I do too. He's in the G League right now, but he does have NBA experience. I believe I want to say he played with the Lakers for a few games. Somebody in the chat correct me, if I'm wrong. But I would have liked the Knicks to have another big as insurance for Mitchell Robinson and Karl Anthony Towns, who also have an injury history.
Okay.
So
that's where I was going.
Okay,
That's where I was going. That's where I was going, or concluding with the Mitch thing. You're supposed to be Karl Anthony's support, right? Because if you remember last year when they asked Karl, it was like, I thought I came here to play the 4. He said that.
Mm-hmm.
But Mitch isn't here. And at some point during the year, he hurts the knee, the finger, the back. He finishes. He has a good playoffs. I thought he had an underrated playoffs, and I'm glad we kind of veered to Cat, because when Cat got here last year, and on with Blanche Tears, shout out to Freezy, right? I remember saying this at the time, that Cat, the sky's the limit for him. He could be whatever he wanted to be, because I looked over the East landscape just by looking at his competitors. And I remember early on, he was smacking people. Midway, still smacking people, before he then hurt the hand.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So there was a clear path, no Embiid. Well, you have guys down, but no real impactful depth at the big man position in the East. So the runway was clear for him. I'm like, sky's the limit for you. The same thing again this year. Sky's the limit.
I think his effectiveness will be impacted at the power forward position.
Offensively or defensively?
Offensively. I think, and again, what's best for what's best for the team may not be what's best for Karl Anthony Towns. And I think the same thing about Brunson.
It has to be one and the same, Steph.
Yeah. I think Karl Anthony Towns is at his best offensively at the 5 position.
5.
No doubt about it. However, I'm not sure the team is better with him at 5. Now, I could just be going off of last year's team and last year's defensive schematics and how they played. That team with Karl Anthony Towns at the 5 was not great, to put it mildly. Now, maybe Karl Anthony Towns at the 5, and it looks like we're going to see it a lot with Mitchell Robinson being out, at least to start the season, or the first game, I should say. Maybe the defense will look different under Mike Brown with Cat at the 5. Maybe it will. But if last year was any indication, it wasn't great. So that's the trade-off I think Mike Brown is making right now by going with the double big lineup. It is going to impact the entire team's offense a little. Definitely Cat a little, but the net will be better because defensively the team will be better.
Mike Brown gets to see it from the beginning. This
Mm-hmm.
is his baby.
Mm-hmm.
See what I'm saying? That's the difference. He's not having Mitch Robinson walk into the latter part of his season. See what I'm saying? Every possible lineup that there could be with him, Mitch, or not, whatever, it's his. Unless Mitch drops out, which he did for a game, maybe. See what I'm saying? With Cat, here's a part of the problem with today's big man, especially today's American big man. They don't know how to post up smaller players.
Right.
Smaller players get up under them, right? Because it's not natural for them to be like, boom, I'm 7 feet tall. you may be a good 6'6" defender, but I'm taking you. I'm gonna make them call a foul. I'm gonna make them I'm not gonna be off that, but that's just not where they are. And a lot of I shouldn't even say just today's. A lot of guys, especially taller guys, are not necessarily comfortable with that kind of in the paint contact. Not saying Carl is not, because Carl showed you last year he was. But he will fall in love if you let him with just the outside.
Right.
And when I say sky's the limit, you better than just the outside. See what I'm saying? Look at his 20-point performance against Indiana in that fourth quarter. Ewing never did that. With a bad leg. It's about consistency. When you're at, what is he now, year 10?
Might be 11. 10 or
Okay,
11.
year 11, at this point in time in stages of career, was about consistency. It's like, yo, this is what I have to do when I'm getting in these moments. He has to already know what he has and be comfortable in any part of the game.
What do you think? And I get what you're saying in terms of how skilled he is. Your thoughts on the trade-off? Your thoughts on him? I'm about to say him playing a 4. He might be. He's gonna be at the 5 to start the season, and we don't know how.
Not that Paul can't play the 4. I just think that he could just be just uber dominant at the 5.
But no concerns about the defense, though.
Versus playing a 4. Who at the 5?
I think about the team, the team's defense. The team's defense.
Even the team's defense. Would you rather having him guarding a healthy Tatum? Did we not see what that looked like in the playoffs? You rather have him guarding 6'8", 6. You want him guarding big boy from Orlando?
I think that I get you. There will be some tough matchups with him, with him at the 4. I get that. But he played that. He played the 4 in Minnesota. They had the number 1 defense. So he was out there moving his puppies adequately enough.
Yeah, it wasn't because of Karl Anthony Towns.
But he was a part of it, though.
He was a part of it, but it
He
wasn't.
was a part of it,
I'll give you that. I'll give you that. I won't even. Yeah, I'll give you that because he's on the team. I'll give you that.
But you put him at the 5. Let's see. Maybe again, I'm going by last year. There was different schemes, right? This year with Mike Brown, maybe with him at the 5, maybe the defensive schemes will be better. Remember, we got Brunson out there as well. Maybe things will be different. I know Freezy talked about, they'll be able to gamble more, and that may help. They'll be able to have a little more freedom defensively. That may help.
You see, fives are not running you through picks and screens. 5s are setting picks and screens.
Yeah.
So just in order of positioning,
Yeah.
You're behind to slide the puppies. You're not supposed to get in there because you're a 5. Doing things like that can cause you irreparable harm.
No, I get that. I get it. I get it. But him at the 5, rim protection, pick and roll defense hasn't been good. We're gonna get a chance.
Is Joker's pick and roll Is Joker a great defensive 5?
He's not. And
here's what he is though. He's in the picture. That's all I've ever asked for, Carl. Get in the picture.
Well, this is what I'm hoping happens with Mike Brown. Because I'm with you. I think Karl Anthony Towns is at his best at the 5 position. I think the offense is at its best at the 5 position, depending if you have adequate shooters, out there. But can the defense hold up? That's the big question. Can the defense hold up so that it's a net positive?
I think
Gotta
it
be a net
will.
positive. You can't be giving up as much as you're getting.
No, I think it will, Steph, but I've always said this about, especially today's defense. Today's defense is not sustained throughout the entire game. Your best defenses are in moments. See, your best defenses are when you're in your game one on your garden floor, and JB's being manhandled by Indiana. It's a moment. It's not the entire game. It's in moments. No one is playing, because if everybody's playing great defense up and down, guess what? We're going to have a lot of 50-50, 60-60 games.
Well, I mean, listen, there's some
The
players.
game is not designed for that.
I get it. I think it's in moments for your best players.
Okay.
Mikal Bridges and OG, yeah, the moment is pretty much
They get cooked. They get cooked too.
Oh, it's not about. I thought you were talking about playing defense and the effort on defense. Of course, they're going to get beat.
No, the effort is one thing, but sometimes we get like lost in this. Remember when Wingstop, when you heard Wingstop, you're like, whew, they locking down everything every night, all the time. Well, that was not the case.
No, it wasn't the case.
It wasn't the case.
But what I'm hearing you saying is that shouldn't have. It's unreasonable to expect that.
Unreasonable to expect that. Totally unreasonable to expect that, because things happen during the course of the season. If we're really being consistent when we think about Bridges from last year, is it his defense that's more so troubling, or was the offense?
I thought it was a little bit of both. I mean, I think when you looked at his counting stats, no complaints. What did he average? 18 points a game. But when you looked at it, particularly in the playoffs, his 3-point shooting percentage, if I'm not mistaken, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, every series, his shooting percentage decreased. And I get it. Some will say that, schemes and lineups can help or hinder a player. And I get it. And to some extent, I agree with that. But when you get an open shot, you got to knock them down. Mikal Bridges had, I can't tell you how many open shots throughout the playoffs last year.
So it sounds like you agree with me. It's the offense you remember. It's the offense. So it goes back to like my earlier points of course, defense is important. I'm from the Riley era and before. But I remember Anthony Bonner on the team in critical moments. You can't shoot.
I remember and I'm from that era too. So I started watching basketball when I was 14, probably the Knicks at 50. So this is like over 40 years of watching NBA basketball. And I loved the Pat Riley Knicks. I love the Jeff Van Gundy Knicks. And that could possibly be why I was a fan of Tom Thibodeau. I didn't agree with everything he did, but it's probably why I was a fan of Tom Thibodeau, because he was of that elk from that time. But I remember scoring was so damn painful back then. The Knicks had really good defensive teams, but if we was down 8, it could be early in the fourth quarter. I was worried how we were going to be able to make up this 8-point deficit we were in. I should not say an 8-point lead. If we were down 8, I was like, oh my God, how are we gonna make up this 8-point deficit with 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter? It was painful. So listen, defense is important. I do come from that era as well. You got
It
to be able to
is.
have some players
But
that
you
can put the ball in the
you
basket, and we
gotta
have
have
that though.
players to
We have
put the
that.
ball. You gotta have players who are competent at putting the ball in the basket. You understand what I'm saying? When you looking at some of them old clips of Michael Jordan and Paxton, or Michael Jordan and Kerr is telling him, "Come to me, I'm ready." I'm not making that up.
No,
Looking at MJ and telling him, "You, when you come to me, I'm ready."
right.
Okay? Because you know what? Everything is going to go to MJ, and guys are going to be free. Okay? And he's letting it be known to the man, when you come to me, I'm ready.
Right.
You got to have guys who can, and those guys, Steve Kerr was a very good college player. He's not a great NBA player, but he had a specialty. I'm going to hit that shot.
Yeah. You bring up a good
Point
point.
blank, period.
Right. It's not just about having players on the team that can shoot and score. Having players on the team that can shoot and score in these high leverage games and high leverage moments, because there's a difference. There's a difference between a random game in February that don't mean much and a closeout game in the playoffs, in the second round of the play. It's two different situations. And you got to have players that come through in those moments. And I got to be honest, I believe we have that in Brunson. I believe we have that in Cat too. I know some people are down on, maybe down on Cat, and he came to the Knicks with a similar complaints as Randall. Like during the trade, after the trade, I went into the the chats of the Minnesota Timberwolves. Oh, good riddance. He don't show up in the playoffs. He shrinks in big moments. I said, it like we switching one for, one for the other. So he does have that reputation. But I thought in this past playoffs, in the playoffs last season, I thought he came up big. He showed up
huge moments.
and he showed up big. And shout out to David to Dave. I'm not viewing the chats, everybody in the chat.
David Smith think he's the greatest center that ever walked the face of this earth.
But
Okay?
he pointed out that in the Eastern Conference Finals, I don't know how true it is, he was the only one that was plus. Everybody else was a negative, probably amongst the starters, if I'm not mistaken. So my point is, I trust Brunson in big moments. I trust Cat in big moments. We're going into an offense where, more sharing of the ball, faster pace, not just in transition, but in the half court, making quicker decisions, moving your body, maybe running, not just running the clock down where you're only getting one good shot, but really, having enough time on the shot clock so you can get quality shots. That's what we're doing. But the other part of that, with Brunson sharing the ball and getting other people involved, is those guys coming through in these high leverage games. That's important because you already know Brunson can do it. So he's passing more. Okay. I want to see these guys come through with the increased opportunities that they get. And I'm not even talking about on average. I'm specifically talking about high leverage games, playoff games, games that mean something for seedings, things of that sort. How do these things go through when Brunson gets into the lane and we know he can hit that shot? But Mike Brown wants a spray. So he hits, OG in the corner. I need OG to consistently knock down that shot because I know what Brunson can do in the lane. So that's something I'm curious.
It's just about what it just, and I'm over it. Yeah, I'm over it. I'm over Tibbs and the whole situation. But just some of the narrative, man. It's like that dude wasn't out there on the court missing the shots. That was you. You could say, up tired. I just don't know that narrative. You know why I don't know that narrative? Because it's not true. You go back and look at how many minutes per game Cat played last year. 35.1. Should he have played 34.3? Would that have made you would that have made the playing time conspiracists feel better? Should he have played 34.3, 33? How about 28?
I don't think Cat and Brunson was the issue. I think their minutes were in line with what most of the stars play in this league, about 35.
Steph, we can't even get Mitch Robinson to average 30 a game, 30 minutes a game.
Yeah.
Let's think about that for a second. But once we got on this thing when Bridges just put it all out there, and then later on in the playoffs you heard this or you heard that or whatever. I just don't understand that.
It could be a sign, though. Maybe that was a sign he was losing the locker room, because when
maybe
when the locker room is tight, you may feel that way, but that's not something you're gonna let out. So that could be a sign that he was, forget whether it was true or not. The fact that it came out could be a sign that he was,
hey, we're gonna stay. I've been a Knicks fan for God, however how long. I love this team. They're in my blood. I look forward to opening night tomorrow.
Facts.
I look forward to the win. And more than anything else, I look forward to the journey. The journey for so many, of the Knicks family, for people, then and now, and have all the great memories, and you just want to have all of those memories culminate into this big orgasm in June. That's what you want. That's what I want. Right. That's what we all should want. Okay, so I'm ready for the journey.
Yeah, I do want to get back to something before we get out of here. And you kind of touched on it when you said a lot of focus was on the coach. In this case, Tom Thibodeau. Not a lot of focus was on the player. And what I wanted to talk about tonight was, if the Knicks are going to the NBA Finals and win it, all three levels of the organization has to be on point, right? And so, starting with the coaching, and I've always said, the criticism of Tom Thibodeau was fair. It may have been unbalanced, where people didn't give him credit where credit was due. It may have been a bit unbalanced, but some of that criticism was fair, right? So you got Mike Brown. I'm really interested. What's going to happen schematically, offensively and defensive? What's going to happen with the lineups in the playoffs? What the adjustments are going to be from game to game, within game, all of that. Mike Brown is going to have to be on point. And we could talk about whether or not it's fair that in his first year, the expectation is that he goes to the NBA Finals. But what wasn't talked about enough last year, and I definitely, at least I'm going to talk about it this year, is the players have to perform. To your point, Tom Thibodeau didn't turn the ball over. Tom Thibodeau didn't not get back in transition defense. Tom Thibodeau didn't miss wide open shots. Now, if you told me the Knicks weren't getting good shots, and for Brunson, I think things could have been a little easier, but there were some wide open shots that were missed. If you're winning a championship, every level is on point. The coaches is on point. Your best players have to be your best players in the moments in which it count. You got to get the support from the bench. You understand what I'm trying to say? Everything has to be on point. And this is the last piece that's not talked about. The front office has to be on point too. The front office has to be on point in constructing the roster, not just initially, but still throughout the season. What do we need? What do we need? What do we need? What do we need? Right? It's constant. Boston traded Marcus Smart. When they went to the playoffs and they found that he was the weakest link and he couldn't shoot, and how that was hampering their defense, the next season he was gone. Same thing with their center, Lloyd the 3. He was gone, right? So the front office has to be on point. Listen, I think they've done a good job since they've been here. No front office bats 1,000. I think they've done a good job. I think they've done a good job in this offseason. And they're getting a lot of credit, rightfully so. But I still wonder if there was another. If
we coming full circle? Are we coming full circle?
to a slightly different direction. So this is what I thought the end of the season the Knicks needed. I thought they needed a veteran backup point guard to play behind Brunson and with Brunson. I thought they needed bench scoring, and I thought they needed another big, just in case Mitchell Robinson.
Look, I'm gonna harper a point that I've been making for the last, I guess, before he got injured and then after he came back. When I saw Lonzo Ball get traded to Cleveland, I think I had a conniption for like a week. Because I'm like, for the role that you want, that you're talking about a 10 to 15 minute, the better he get, healthier he gets, the better he gets, whatever. Maybe it increases, whatever, but can he shoot? Yeah. How tall is he? You got a height problem in the backcourt? How tall is he? 6'7". Better play defense? Yeah.
Yeah.
Vision? Check.
Yeah.
Ball handling?
The shooting has come across. I wouldn't say he's a lockdown shooter, but his shooting has improved since he's been in the league.
Yes, I'm never calling him a lockdown shooter. I'm talking about for what you need him.
Right.
An open, whatever his corner numbers, front numbers, whatever. An open three, whatever. Yeah, he can hit that. And you needed that kind of piece in your backcourt. It's the same reason why you tried to get, what's the young man in OKC that was with the Lakers a couple years ago? The point guard.
Oh yeah, I would have liked him too. Caruso.
They tried, Caruso.
But let me. I mean, I do want to be fair.
It's been, this has been an issue, Steph. That backup point guard has been an issue going back to Brunson's first season.
Yes, I do want to be fair to the front office, though. I don't know specifically what the cap situation is and whether Lonzo Ball was even an option, whether or not it could have worked cap-wise, or what would have needed to happen to bring him onto the Knicks. So so even though I outlined the 3 things I wanted for the Knicks, and I think I said earlier in the show, them hitching their wagon to Mitchell Robinson, given the injury history, it could have been that there really wasn't much they could do about it. That's possible as well.
This is not socialism basketball. Okay, I said this earlier in the summer. I'm gonna say it again as we closing out. Remember what happened in Brooklyn when they decided that they didn't need leadership? Or not Brooklyn, excuse me, Phoenix, when they decided that they didn't need a point guard, they just needed 3 great guys when they was in their prime, and a coach who won a championship, and because they did that twice, back to back, Vogel and Budenholzer, right? But you had no true direction. You didn't have, and I'm not even talking about from a starting role. I'm talking about from the backup role, or just a point guard period in that particular situation. The Knicks, one of the big reasons why I didn't cry for me, Argentina, when quickly left, because when they needed him 2 years in a row,
he was young.
Point guard ability, okay, I'll go to Deuce. 2 years in a row, the young man from Indiana kicked his ass. 2 years in a row.
Yeah,
Facts.
he does it to a lot of people though. But
But I'm a fan of the Knicks. So we're talking about matchups. And like I said, this goes back to Brunson's first year. They've needed this every year. The closer they got to it, and some people, I'm gonna say a name that some people hate whatever because when he was here, but Burks gave you a little bit of that 2 years ago when he came back. Gave you a little bit of that. I'm talking about a heady guy. I'm talking about a heady, experienced vet who's been through the rigors. I'm not talking about Kolick.
yeah, so what I'm hearing is basically somebody that can manage the team. They don't need to be super dynamic, like just somebody who can manage the team in the non-Brunson minutes. Let me ask you this, because this came up when we did the collab with Blanche Tears. Shout out to Freezy, Coach, DSJ, and Bob, who was on the show, and of course Jeff. They seem to feel, or at least Coach and Freezy seem to feel that the system will be enough. That Mike Brown's system, in Mike Brown's system, you don't necessarily need a point guard. Now, and when I'm saying point guard, I'm saying it loosely. I'm not saying whether it's a facilitating point guard, whether it is a pass first point guard. What I mean is somebody who can manage the game behind Brunson, whether you pass first, shoot first, whatever, a floor general that can manage the game. They seem to feel that in Mike Brown's system, Deuce and Clarkson will be enough. That you don't necessarily need somebody that can manage the game.
Clarkson is not. All you're gonna do is confuse him. All you're gonna do is be mad at him at the end of the day when he can't do what you wanted him to do. You're gonna put him in a position. You're gonna try and make him what? Because Clarkson is a scorer. Can he pass a little bit? Yeah. Are you asking him to set up players? Did we not come to a conclusion with Deuce? That's not what he does best in the NBA. So here we go again. Okay, I got Clarkson. I'm gonna have a little heart. I'm gonna have a little this. I'm gonna have a little that. That's not their role. That shouldn't be in these clutch moments when you need to give Brunson a break to bring the ball up to get your team in half-court offense. Okay, when you need to get the guys in your half-court offense, when Brunson needs a breather, what are we talking about?
So some feel that you could run a system where as long as you make that first pass and then everybody is reading and reacting, and that you don't necessarily need one person to initiate action.
You almost forced me to smoke on these channels, and I'm trying to act like you gotta.
So I take you disagree with that. You disagree with
put on the velvet, and you out here stop it.
So you disagree with that. You like to have a floor general that initiates the actions rather than just having a free flowing system where everyone is reading and reacting and making the right pass.
How many championships Caruso got?
I think he has
Dos. It's not by accident. It's not by accident when he left the Lakers. The Lakers, they kept trying to replace him. Remember that? They brought him. Westbrook thought, no, he's not Caruso. Not that Caruso's a better player than him, but for what you needed, that's not what he was going to give you. You understand what I'm saying? You need, that you need somebody to be able to steady the ship, to calm the seas, not trust into a system. Systems break down.
Yeah.
The basketball that's played in the regular season is not the same basketball that's played in the playoffs.
Facts. That was my point. I prefer to just have some good decision makers out
Give me
there.
an Eric Snow. Yeah, he's not scoring a great deal of points or whatever, but he's gonna make the right decisions. He's gonna play great defense and then hit a big shot here and there.
Yeah, yeah.
And
That
you'll let
that would be
and
my
you'll you see what I'm saying? If you had that kind of guy, you can allow Brunson at times when he's scorching to get blue flame. And not worry about the system and come on, I don't want to see guys doing things that's not their strong suit.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, because this is the thing. Deuce, Yabusele are players that are, obviously Yabusele, you have to set him up, right? You have to give him the ball in places in which he can do something with it, right? He's not a guard. He's not going to be, initiating shots himself. I think Deuce his handle has gotten tighter. I think he's a little, he can attack a closeout and pull up, for mid range. I see him getting slightly better at, taking guys off the dribble, but he's at his best playing off the ball.
Yes.
Who's getting these guys involved in that second unit? Now, Josh is hurt. Josh is hurt. He is a secondary, playmaker. But Clarkson is an underrated passer. Don't get me wrong. But just because you're an underrated passer doesn't mean, and he's a good scorer too. But because he can, doesn't mean he has it down pat. I thought that's something that Quickly struggled with at times. At least the fan base complained that that's something that Brunson struggles with. When you are a good scorer, when to score, when to get others involved. Clarkson is an underrated passer, but does he have that down pat? I don't think so from what I've seen in the preseason. But it's the preseason. Maybe once the season starts,
we are no longer in the preseason.
Once we get 10 games in, maybe I'll see the balance. Maybe I'll see.
It's
that,
fair. I normally I'll give my Tibbs rule. My Tibbs rule was I used to always give Tibbs because he would be the same thing. 25 games in. First 20 games, we'll see what you guys are doing, whatever. And then we'll get to the nuts and bolts of who I can trust and who I can't.
Right.
So this system thing goes for nada if you put the piece in that can't run the system.
Right. Because part of the system is decision making. Running any system is having good decision maker who can read defenses, who knows what you need at a particular point in time. We'll see. I feel like, again, coaches, players, front office all have to be on point if you're winning a championship. I think the front office has been, overall really, really good. I like the way they beefed up the bench, but we're gonna rely a lot on Huck Porty, to get minutes, right? And I think Mike Brown will use him. Tibbs maybe thought he wasn't ready. He played some, but probably behind Cat, we kind of went small, right? When Cat came out the game.
Well, and I made this comment last year. He came out of nowhere. He was like, back in the day with wrestling, when you couldn't figure where the guy was, they would announce him from parts unknown. Like he came out of space. Mm-hmm. He didn't know where a party came from. And when he got on the floor, them early moments, mind you, we don't have a huge sampling of a party outside of the preseason.
Right.
So basically, what we're talking about is preseason Haporti last year.
He played some. He played some minutes last year, particularly once they moved off of Sims. Oh, Sims would play.
That was Sims that was getting all those minutes early. It was Sims.
Yeah, I know. But what I mean is that he did get some minutes last year. Yeah, it wasn't extensive minutes, but he got some minutes.
But we saw he had a lively body,
right?
Energy, worked hard, but you don't know. You haven't seen a long stint to be like he could be a great offensive rebounder. He could be a great
Right.
defensive rebound.
Right.
He could
Right.
be a great shot blocker.
Right.
All you know what? Lively body. And
Right.
you only get to know more if you get more minutes.
And he will. And he
Oh,
will.
now he is.
Now he will. I mean, and he's yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
This is what I didn't want. And people in the fan base get on me all the time that I don't like the young players. I just don't like young players in positions where you have to count on them game in and game out. I don't mind young players playing, getting their feet wet, having a solid role in the rotation. But right now, we counting on Hawkporty behind Towns. You know, I'm not a favor. I'm okay with Kolek getting minutes. I'm not a fan of Kolek being the primary backup behind Jalen Brunson. I just feel like it's just, first of all, it's not fair to put them in those positions, though they will gladly accept it, I'm sure. But if you're trying to win a chip, you want to put them in positions where if they shine, it's great. If they don't, it's great. If they give us a spark, that's great. If they don't, we good. Either way. That's the position you want your young players to be in.
I'm sure as time goes on, we'll touch on this a little bit more, but I've been saying this for 2 years. Why did they draft them?
Well, I mean,
They
listen.
had gone several years without even drafting, but I've been drafting anybody in the first round. They did that 2 years in a row.
But
You got these guys, and I'm sorry, Steph. You
Mhm.
got these guys in a moment where you're right there trying to win a championship. They're on two different levels. Tibbs was never going to play them last year unless they were spectacular players.
But does that mean you don't bring them into your system, though, even if they're not in the rotation?
You bringing them into your system, but you're into your system to, and what's the expectation? Nothing.
Well,
Nothing.
the expectation is that, listen, with this new collective bargaining agreement, the way the CBA is structured right now, you have to get cheap talent, right? So you bring them in and you develop them so that they can be a contributor a little bit in year 2, maybe a little more in year 3, maybe they're in the rotation in year 4.
This is not in the NBA. There's only 450 players on an NBA year. You're not gonna get that. You're not gonna get 2, 3, 4 years to dribble along, dribble along. Not when you got other. Look what happened. They drafted Diamare. They stashed another big out there in Europe somewhere. They got another. They got another
But
guy. Another guy.
AD,
They got two guys in Europe.
that's what we did with McBride.
But here's the thing, though. Every time McBride went down to the G League, dominated.
Okay.
Because McBride was two cuts above those two players.
Which two?
Kolek, Pacom. Pacom, Kolek.
In terms of
Grimes and Deuce were better than Deuce. When Deuce went down to the G League, Deuce dominated the G League.
But as a prospect, in terms of ceiling, you think Deuce McBride has a higher ceiling than Daddy?
No, I think Deuce has a higher ceiling. Kolek. Do I think Deuce has a higher ceiling than Dadier? Right now, it's too early to call. I don't want to kill a young player like that because, to be fair to the young player, I can't even see you. You're not playing in the first 10 guys on a consistent basis. You're not.
But
you can get some run in the G League, but the first 10, call up. Let's look at the roster. You know the roster. You go through every other night. You know the roster.
We talked about this.
The first 10 guys. They're not playing without injury.
But this is what I will say. And as much as I'm known as somebody who's not in favor of playing young players, like I said, you have to bring young talent onto your team. That's just the way the CBA is, and hope that you hit. I agree with you. They need to see time in the CBA. Practice.
Who's
Practice.
better right now in your mind, Packham or McCullough? Packham, McCullough, or the other young man they
I think
drafted? What's his name?
McCullough.
What's his
I
name?
think
Demarty?
Diawara, you mean?
Diawara, excuse me.
Diawara. I think McCullough is a little further along than Daddier, but I think Daddier's ceiling is higher than McCullough. I think so. McCullough at this point, he's already 25.
Okay.
Right? Yeah, he's already 25. But I will say this. That 10th spot, and I talked about this earlier. That 10th spot, that the 10th player is playing 10, 12 minutes a game. Whoever the 10th player is. If he decides that he's going to go 10, he said 9.5. You know what that means, that the 10th player is not getting a lot of run. I'm okay with that 9.5 player, that 10 player, that 8 minutes being one of the young players that you see being in your rotation a few years back, a few years down the line. I'm okay. Those minutes are not going to break the Knicks. If they come in and they make mistakes, you take them out. If they terrible, they only getting 5 minutes that night. If they come in and they hitting shots and they playing well, maybe they get 15. I'm okay with that last spot going to a young player that you believe as an organization will eventually be in your rotation.
Okay.
Am I in favor of them?
So who's the player from your lens?
I would be okay. I would be okay with any one of them, quite frankly. Because again, I don't think that 10th player, that 10th spot is going to make or break your team. I just don't. Who, if they want Diawara in that 10th spot, they want Kolek in that 10th spot, they want Daddier in that 10th spot. I just don't think that 10th spot is making or breaking your team. Now, if you're telling me Kolek is the second string point guard on this team, I'm not happy. If you're telling me Daddier is the backup small forward on this team and he's the 7th player in your rotation, I'm not happy. If you're telling me Diawara, who I like, is the backup for OG Anunoby, I'm not happy. I don't care how tall he is. I'm not happy. But the 10th guy getting 8-10 minutes a game, I'm good with that.
I'm not giving up anything. You got to earn it. I'm not giving
Well,
up. I'm not even giving a young player time. You got to earn it.
But
it's survival of the fittest.
How do you know? But how are they earning it? They earning it by the summer league, by what you saw in practice, by what you saw in the preseason. They've earned enough for you to give them 6 minutes.
Impressed. I wasn't overly impressed. I really wasn't. I wasn't overly, outside of the Frenchman they drafted this year, and I thought that they should outlaw us from ever drafting a Frenchman ever again before this year. But they did what they did. He has something. But I wasn't that taken by him. I'm like, them 8 to 10, those is yours.
But again, no. I think as a front office, you got to be strategic in your development of talent, because 2 years down the line, when Hart's contract is up, if say you've been grooming, it might even be next year. I'm not sure. Somebody in chat, let me know when Josh Hart's contract is up. If you've been giving Diawara 10 minutes a game, maybe 2 years from now, he's at a point where once Hart comes off the book, he can step in.
Okay.
In that rotation as the backup person. But if you never give them any minutes, they're just not. So I do think you got to be strategic as an organization. It's just where you put them in the rotation and how many. You can't be grooming 5 of them. One player, the 10th player, you know what I mean? Getting out of way from 8 to 12 minutes a game, in my opinion, that's it.
Yeah, that's just my point. But
yeah, but I hear you. I hear you. I don't think anyone is wrong. I hear you. This is chip time. Lock in.
This is chip.
Every spot with a veteran. Every spot with a veteran. What?
I'd rather a veteran at this moment in
No,
time.
understood.
I'll keep an eye. I'll listen to whatever the assistant coach is telling me. You
Mhm.
know, I'll look at the G League report every now and again. But I'm not interested in Parkham Dadier. Not
What if?
interested in Kolick.
What if? Because if they play them as the 10th guy, that means Shamit is on the bench. I would think, in a like the pecking order of the bench, I think Shamit would be the 10th guy.
I'm not playing either one of them over Shannon.
What I'm saying is, when you look at lineups, you got a shooting guard in Deuce McBride. You got a shooting guard in Clarkson. Do you need yet another shooting guard in the rotation? Where he
Okay.
could be situational and be there for injury protection.
Yeah, but I thought it was about the system, right? So if you got a system, doesn't matter. Doesn't
What do you
matter.
mean?
If you have a system and they're playing to the system, it doesn't matter. It's like positionless basketball. Remember that nonsense of a couple of years ago? Positionless basketball. You don't
Well,
need it. The
I,
same
I'm not.
nonsense.
I'm just telling you what the discussion was. I'm not on the
Positionless
system hype
basketball got
train.
Fizdale's ass up out of here. Okay? All of that now, it's about not just talent. It's not just, you need more than talent to be out there on the big stage. You need more than talent to be next to Brunson. Not about what you think about him in the future. 3 years from now, 4 years from now. How old is Brunson? 29?
I believe so.
I don't care. I don't care about his future, right? I really don't. I ain't sending him to college. He done left the college already. Go get a job. Your job don't have to be here.
Yeah.
I want to bulk up. If one of my core goes down or whatever, I'm not looking at Parkham Dadier to be like, you're the guy that's gonna go in. If I could get a better, I'm getting a better.
I mean that. That's
Understand?
fair. I don't. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just thinking from an organizational standpoint with the way the cap is that
They
they
sat
might not
there
find it.
last year, Steph. They sat there last year at the trade-in deadline. Now, I saw Charlotte trade Nick Richards. What did we think about Nick Richards? Whatever. You were in dire need of a big. In dire need of a big. You came into the season playing around with Sims. Okay?
Who?
You came into the season playing around with Sims. A man who was afraid to go to the hoop unless he was completely wide open.
Right.
And you did that 3 years in a row. You gave him a 3-year contract.
I just think that there are other factors that go into the decisions that the Knicks um make to go after or not go after a player. And I think they're balancing need with salary, with fit. I don't think it's just Nick Richards is out there. We need a center. Let's go get him. And he was somebody that I wanted last year. To your point, Lonzo Ball was also somebody that I thought would have been perfect. Coming off of injury history too, they've been managing him last year too. He didn't play in back to backs. They limited his minutes. I would think he would have been. He'll be a little healthier now. We'll see Wednesday when I think he's starting, right? Because Garland is still out with an
Believe
injury.
so. I'm just saying you could have, you know, young guys more time than not in those crucial situations, they're gonna falter. The great Kobe Bryant faltered in
But
his
you're not
first
putting them in
crucial
those
situation.
situations. You're
Yeah,
not
but
putting them in crucial
like I
situations.
said, a coach named Del Harris put Kobe in that situation at 18 years old. And he shot air ball after air ball after air ball. That could have corrupt. He literally was trying to prove a point to this kid to break his psyche, to break his confidence, as if he was some kind of horse that you were breaking in and not seeing if he is some kind of horse, he's a stallion. So the rarest breed. And you put him on the biggest screen a young guy who's not supposed to be in those moments yet.
But do you think that's what would happen here? I don't think that would happen here.
They were in a different situation. That was a totally young,
Right.
super young team.
Right.
Just
Right.
totally separate situation.
Right.
But my point is, I'm not gonna put a young guy in those moments. I'm just
I
not.
don't think we would.
Grimes in playoff moments with the Knicks did not look good.
What I'm saying is the Knicks are in a different place now.
Okay.
And if the Knicks were to give any of these young guys any time, they're not going to have them closing games. They're not going to have them in like tight, situations. I think if they decided that the 10th guy in the rotation would be one of these young guys, I think they would spoon.
You want to give him some spare change. You want to do something strange for some change. All right. Well, anyway, Steph, I got to get out of here.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But before we do go, I didn't get a chance to really look into the chat and so forth, and don't find this disrespectful, but we just we took the plane off and now we're landing it back again, but we do appreciate, and we will, be reaching into the chats and so forth, like we always do. You've seen us, Steph, how Steph does and so forth. So, it's a community, it's a family, the Knicks are important to me, like the Knicks are important to Steph, and like the Knicks are important to you. But it's not going to be all about the Knicks.
It's not going to always be about the Knicks. I do want to shout out the chat. This is more podcast style, so we don't put up a lot of comments during the show, and I wasn't even looking at them for the most part. I do appreciate you guys was here. I did see that you was here, but it kind of throws me off sometimes when I'm in conversations like this. JM 3000, I appreciate you. Randall 1973, always size 9 or coach in the house. Appreciate you. Coach says, AD, you down on players that you haven't seen play real basketball yet.
See them play. I don't need to see them play. I'm looking at the championship. They're in my rear view mirror.
Okay. DKEJ21, I appreciate you. Clarkson isn't going to come down and look to pass. He's not what we need. You're asking him to be Kolek, and we don't think Kolek's better than him. Yeah, I definitely don't want him in that position. I want him to look to score, and obviously if there's rotations, he's an underrated passer, but I don't want him to have that thought process that he's somehow running the offense. But as coach will say, it's a system, so that wouldn't be the case, right, coach? Shout out to Jabroni Z, East Blue Drew, I appreciate you. King Ribby, Latoria B, I don't like the negative vibes. I don't understand Knicks fans. And not just Latoria B, that's sis. I'm not coming at you at all. But I don't understand Knicks fans. If you don't have on your pom-poms, if you have something to say, like say we're talking about Brunson, and somebody says, I don't think Brunson passes enough. Oh, why are we being so that's not negative. That's an opinion. Somebody doesn't believe Brunson passes enough. Somebody doesn't believe Josh Hart should be in the starting lineup. Somebody believes Mitchell Robinson is overrated. That's not being negative. That's your opinion. The opinion, if you're expecting somebody to come in here with their pom-poms on and just talk about how great the Knicks are, how great the front office is, how great, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen on this channel, right? It's not going to happen here. This is not the Pom Pom Podcast. I tell you that all the time. You can give your opinion. We don't all have to agree, and I don't think it's negative. But not just you, Latoria B. I get that. I get that a lot.
Hey, it is what it is. Like I said,
Wolverines 1986. I appreciate you. Dwayne, Wonder Woman, Jarrell, Jess Nix, Marlon Khan, Jay Davis. I probably missed somebody. David G.
Size 9.
Wiz in the house. Delusional in the house. I appreciate everybody stopping by. The Knicks play tomorrow, 7 p.m. David was in the building. I don't know if he was in here when we was talking about Nick Yak in the building. I appreciate you. Wow. Anyway, Anthony D, always a pleasure. Our usual time will be Monday nights at 9. At 7:30, I just confirmed it today. Ajay and I will be doing a weekly pregame show, kind of previewing the opponents the Knicks will be playing that week. So we'll be doing that at 7:30, and then AD and I will come on at 9 o'clock on on Monday. Anthony's always a pleasure.
Absolutely. A lot of bang for the buck. That's a good show.
Sure. And we'll be back.
Thank you much.
We'll be back next week.
Thank you much. Salute
Shout out to the replay gang as well.
Sister, you one of a kind.
Yes.
Oh, sister, it's time you
That's
shine. Don't so.
Where you at? Where you at?
Don't so.
Where you at? Where you at?
Don't so.
What?
Don't so.
What?
You're so.
Where you at? Where you at?
Yeah.